Good morning, everybody. Give me 1 second. Good morning, everybody. Happy hump day. Happy hump day. So, I just want to let everybody know that this particular case here it may be triggering for some people. So, I just want to give that warning in advance that the specifics of this case may be triggering for some. So just to let you know in advance, it does include, let me put my, so I'm just going to say viewer discretion is advised because this particular case talks about sexual assault, the R word, and it does involve a child, okay, as well as murder. So if that's something that you're going to have an issue with, or you feel like it may trigger you too much, then this probably wouldn't be the live stream for you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. I was actually going to post something on my community wall. I posted some things in Discord, but I was going to post on my community wall and my Patreon to thank you guys for all of the beautiful well wishes. I certainly thank those ladies that are around on Discord that did the live birthday greeting to me. I appreciate that very much. That was very kind and thoughtful of y'all. Okay. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. So although I said it on Discord, but I wanted to say it to you guys in person. You know, I appreciate you for all you do and for all the support that you give, especially those of y'all that have been unwavering in your support from my start to my finish. I appreciate you. Okay. So let's go. I have my notes here, but this is I don't think I necessarily need my notes. So let me know. Am I coming through? Good morning, Coco. Good morning, Kels, Brandy. And I'm going to shut down these other streams. So, because I don't think anybody's over on the other channels anyway. Well, just a few. So come on over to the Cookie Monster channel, please. Good morning, Slim Duncan. Nunya was first in the room. So, you know, children have very vivid imaginations. And I'm sure those of y'all that are mothers have had the experience where a child will come to you and they may be afraid of a particular type of boogeyman or a particular type of monster, but we know that it's not a real monster. It's just a part of it. It's a figment of their imagination that plays out. That, you know, it's a phase that all kids go through that they'll grow out of. And good morning, Shady. When I was going through this case, I said, okay, well, when the fucking parent is the predator, if the parents are supposed to protect the children, who the fuck is supposed to protect the children when the fucking parent is the predator? This has to be one of the most disturbing cases that I've come across in a very, very long time. And I'm talking about my true crime memory of different cases goes all the way back probably to when court TV first started, when my oldest son was a little baby. And this has to be up there among the top 10 that's the most disturbing. For a couple of reasons. One, because of who was actually involved in the crime itself. And then two, it's an instance of where you have, I can't even use the fucking words, the case slipped through the cracks, because there's just no fucking way a person with this fucking history should have ever escaped through the cracks that many fucking times. It's not that much reasonable doubt under the fucking sun. So in my opinion, the other part that makes it that makes it very disturbing is that it was totally fucking preventable. This particular crime here, totally preventable. So let me show y'all a picture. Beautiful little girl from Columbus, Georgia. How did I get this up here? Hold on, let me erase, let me delete this. I don't even know how the hell this, what this particular this picture even got here. I must have been using it as a thumbnail or something. Yes, move to the trash. Okay, so she was actually 5 years old. Her name is Kamarie Holland. She's a 5-year-old little girl from Columbus, Georgia. So she had just basically started preschool. She had basically started kindergarten, pardon me, at the height of COVID. So somebody in her classroom contacted COVID and she just never went back to school. So she only spent a total of about 2 weeks there, but she had just started school. And the reason why you see the princess graphics and things like that is because that's what when they asked her on her first day of school what she wanted to be when she grew up, that's what she put in the box, that she wanted to be a princess. So on December, now hold on. She actually, now her mother, Christy, didn't actually have, her name is Christy Sipple. So her mother didn't actually have custody of her. Her father is the one who had custody of her. And one of the things that's hard to do about true crime is that you're not supposed to critique, you're not supposed to have any critiques, because you're supposed to be sensitive to you're supposed to be sensitive to the victims. And I think that I don't take issue with people that take that position, but I also think that people use that as a way to not answer difficult questions. And that's just my personal opinion about it. Good morning, Nisa. Good morning, Lorraine. Because nobody wants to question the parent or the relative or the significant other of a deceased child. Nobody wants to do that. If you all remember when I covered the Gregory Green case, here you have an instance of where a man murders his first wife, stabs her when she's pregnant with his child very brutally, and leaves her dead on the kitchen floor. And you have a pastor's daughter that knows what this guy's history is. You have a pastor that knows that this man murdered his first wife. And you think that this is somebody that your daughter should hook up with. And what happens as the result of that? 4 children lose their lives. He had already proven, listen, it was actually the father writing to the parole board that got his black ass out in the first place. Because the parole board said he showed no remorse. And what did I tell y'all about people that commit first-degree murder? The motherfucker didn't show any remorse because he wasn't remorseful. It's really just that simple. He did not show remorse because he had none. He felt that he was justified in his actions. So why they thought that he should be walking around the streets after, listen, he did 16 years. The spouse, when it's actually your spouse that does that, it seems to me that they get a significantly lower amount of time than if a random stranger had did it. So they're not even being punished they're not even spending the rest of their life in prison. And yes, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come right back out and do it again. They've already here's the thing, they've already proven to you that they're a fucking killer. What more do you need to see? Apparently, you need to see more bodies dropping for you to become a believer. And I'm telling you that as a felon, there's just some motherfuckers that shouldn't be walking the streets. Sorry, not sorry. No, it's not free this child killer, free this murderer, because a lot of these motherfuckers are serial killers. They're just not identified as that, running rampant in the black community. But there are serial killers. It's a serial killer in your neighborhood. If you live in a ghetto, if you live in the hood, trust and believe me, you got serial killers in your neighborhood. You got serial killers there. They're just not called that. But that's what they are. So no, every motherfucking body shouldn't be free. So this is Kamarie Holland, beautiful little girl. Her father, Corey Holland, actually had custody of her. And this is why I take issue with this dude. I can empathize with him as a parent that lost his child, but there's certain fucking questions that I don't think any fucking body asked. And they exploit the fact that there's a gag order associated with the case not to ask certain questions. But investigators have a very slippery way of putting information out there without putting information out there because of the gag order. But we'll get to that. So this particular Sunday, Christy Sipple goes to Corey Holland's house. Now, she has get this, y'all. She has a younger child. Oh, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it. She has a younger child. Mind y'all, he had custody because she has substance abuse issues. So my question is, if Kamarie is 5 years old, how does the younger brother that he has with Kamarie's mother come to be? That means that he would have still been fucking her while she in her addiction. There's no way around that. And I'm gonna tell you why that's significant, because I believe that ties into the reason why he allowed Kamarie to go with her on that particular day. But again, because he's the parent of a deceased child, you can't ask that kind of question. Why not? It's a question that should have been asked. It's not, at the end of the day. Good morning, Yaya. Good morning, LLAs. The person that actually committed the crime, yes, we get that they are responsible for it. But this is a 5-year-old child. Was it preventable? Could this have been prevented? In my fucking opinion, absolutely. I can't say that if it wouldn't have been another victim, but it would not have been this victim. I'm talking about this particular case right here. This was 100% preventable. So she has a little brother if that's actually under a year old. And he was taken by CPS at birth because the mother, Christy Sipple, had drugs in her system. They said that the drugs that she had in her system was allegedly marijuana. That doesn't explain why she didn't have custody of none of the rest of the kids. She has 4 children. She didn't have custody of any of them. We're the fathers of those children. Because based on what happened in this particular instance, I'm not fucking convinced that that was even the first instance of when that type of violation took place. There's no way she just woke up one morning and decided to do what she ultimately did. No fucking way. The fact of the fucking matter is, based on her fucking history, I'm sorry, he is the father, right? He's the dad. 5-year-olds don't make decisions. The parents make the decision. So if your 5-year-old would have been disappointed that she couldn't go with her mom, she would have gotten over it. She would have gotten over it. Yes, she would have cried. Yes, she may have had a temper tantrum, but you know what? She would have got over it. I believe that because they had this little back and forth relationship, that they had this understanding, because what he says, and we'll watch the news clips, what he says in some of the news clips is, well, she didn't look high. Well, the fact that you would even have to look at her, you're not a human drug analysis. You're not a human drug analysis. You're not a human drug test. So that tells you a couple of things. She was using drugs that were harder than fucking marijuana. So the mother goes to Corey's house. Corey's the father on this particular Sunday. And here's the other thing that's not clear to me. Why the fuck did she go there? Did she go there to just see the kids, or did she go there specifically for the daughter? Here's another reason why I have a fucking problem with the father. When the baby comes back in the house and says, can I go with mommy? He tells the media that, he was reluctant. He was a little hesitant. He had custody, and a judge decided that any visitation she has with the children has to be supervised. That means when they went in for custody, the judge decided that based on the fucking evidence, she should not be alone with her fucking children. This is why I have an issue with the father. Because what the father tells her, well, if you're going to so the father agrees to let Kamarie go, but if you want to take Kamarie, take the younger child too. Take Kamarie's little brother too. What that says to me is that he wanted a break from the kids. And he knew that this bitch used drugs. Sorry, not the fuck sorry. He knew the bitch had not stopped getting high. He lived just across the Chattahoochee River. If she could just pop up at his house on a Sunday, he had some damn idea of what the fuck she was doing across the river. If they had that type of relationship. Because her coming to see the kid, her coming there that day, it wasn't scheduled in advance. It wasn't anything that was supposedly planned. It wasn't like it was a planned visitation. The court ordered that if she has any contact with her children, it's supposed to be supervised. So she takes both kids back with her. The next morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning on December the 13th, the mother wakes up and she had Kamarie and Kamarie's little brother in the bed with her. She wakes up and this is what she alleges, that she goes to open the door, open the front, basically the baby was gone and the front door was wide open. So she gets on the phone and she calls 911. They launch a massive, immediate search for Kamarie. Within 24 hours, based on information that they got, and this is the gag order, prevents a lot of information from being, basically prevents the public and even the media from having access to certain information. But you don't need to know all of the details. There's enough details of what happened out to let me know that basically there were people that saw some shit that were cooperating with the police. There's no way they would have found Kamarie less than 24 hours dead. But unfortunately, when they found Kamarie 24 hours later, she was deceased. She was deceased in Phoenix, Alabama. Phoenix, Alabama. Good morning, Tisa. In a house that was associated with somebody who was associated with Kamarie's mother. Now, although they say that they knew each other, they said that their relationship was not romantic. Based on what I know, either he was a drug dealer, either he used drugs with her, or either he was her fucking pimp. And they're not putting, I don't know how much more. It's not a matter of not wanting to prejudice the jury. It's already a fucking prejudicial case. Based on the details of the case, that in and of itself is going to prejudice certain motherfuckers. And I'm sorry, I'm very biased when it comes to child predators. And this dude was the personification of a predator that slipped through the cracks again and again and again and again and again and again. The individual that they linked to that house was Jeremy Williams. This is Kamarie's mother with her crocodile tearing ass, right? And then I'm going to show you Jeremy. And then we're going to watch this interview of Kamarie's mother, and you tell me what you get from the interview. I was looking for the original interview, but I just the only way that I was able to get the only place I was able to find it, I found the sheriff's interview and stuff like, well, the sheriff's basically their public statement regarding the indictment. But I want you to look at this crocodile tearing ass bitch. And she is just that. And after we watch the interview, I'll tell you what y'all can type in the chat what y'all got from it, and I'll tell you what I got from it. This is Kamarie's mother. Now, I told y'all that they found Kamarie deceased. Kamarie was reported missing on the 13th of December of 2021. Within 24 hours, they found her across the Chattahoochee River in Phoenix, Alabama, deceased. Within 24 hours after that, Jeremy had been taken into custody and charged with Kamarie's murder. They initially ruled her cause of death as asphyxiation. Later on, this is the missing persons report that was filed. Speaking of Amber Alerts, I got an Amber Alert this morning. Actually, that's what woke me up. It was an Amber Alert this morning that came to my phone. So it woke me up because it comes to all my devices at one time. So this was the missing persons report for Kamarie. And we know that she was found 24 hours later. This is the house where she was found. It's not the house that she was missing from. It's the house where she was found, the house where Jeremy Williams was linked to. Why do I keep, hold on for a second. I think I may have the wrong, I'm sorry. No. I'm looking at my notes, y'all. I'm talking about my notes. I think I got opened the wrong file or opened the wrong document. So this is the house where Kamarie was found in Phoenix, Alabama. And Jeremy was linked to this house because he used to live at this house. And this is why I say I believe that there were people in Christy's life that knew that something wasn't right. And based on the information that was provided to law enforcement, that enabled them to arrest Jeremy and charge him with Kamarie's murder. So their information came from more than one source. And they were very tight-lipped about where their information came from. So this is Jeremy. Now, again, I haven't gone into the details of the case. I have to give you this trigger warning. This is it's about as heinous as a crime can get. Now, one of the things that's very suspicious to me about the timing of Kamarie's mother going to, good morning, fashionista, going to report Kamarie missing to the Columbus, Georgia police, is that 24 hours Before they found Kamarie's body, Jeremy sexually assaulted a woman who had basically gotten in that very same house. She had gotten into an argument with her boyfriend and she didn't have any place to go. So she reached out to a friend, and that friend put her in touch with Jeremy. It's actually two cases. One is Jeremy Williams and the other is Jeremy Robinson. I'm sorry, y'all, I was just thinking out loud. This shit, hold on, y'all. Let me check something real fast. Cause I keep calling this motherfucker. So the woman goes to the house, and this is why I say women have to trust their instincts. Okay? She has to trust, you have to trust your instincts. Because good morning, Bird. Good morning, Coco. She said what she described when she came in contact with him at this house is that she said she felt uneasy. So he sexually when she gets, I don't know. See, there's certain things that they're omitting. If you want me to be perfectly honest with you, I believe that if she told the police the only way she was able to get out of the house and away from this dude to get to somewhere where she could reach out for help was to tell him where to go buy drugs at, that means that he was not a drug dealer. So I scratched that off of my list of the possible associations with Kamarie's mother and in Jeremy. He's not your drug dealer if a woman that he sexually assaulted can lead him out of the house by telling him where to go and get drugs from. That doesn't make logical sense. What makes logical sense to me is that they both were getting high. And there was more to the story about first of all, what their real reason for hooking up is. I don't know. I'm not going to say. They haven't identified, because she's a sexual assault victim. They haven't identified who the woman is, but the woman said that when she got into the house, he pushed the deep freezer up to the window. Up to the door and wouldn't allow her to leave. He repeatedly, when they use the word sodomy, that's talking about something anal, something being put in somebody's rectum. If it was something else, because they don't consider that that's a form of the R word, but when they use the word sodomy, that's what that means. That means that they put something in their anal cavity, whether it was a penis or a finger or anything else. So he was charged with sodomizing her and forcing her to perform sex acts on him. And what she told the police was that he was calling her Kamarie's name. At this point in time, Kamarie's body had not been found. He was calling her Kamarie's name, according to the victim, and she said that he told her he had just taught a 5-year-old how to have oral sex. This motherfucker up here on the screen is about as sick, demented, and twisted as a motherfucker can get. And he never should have been walking the streets in the first fucking place. Because at the time of this fucking crime, he was basically fighting a case in fucking Georgia for assault on a child. And that was not his first fucking time. Tat, this motherfucker should have never been walking the fucking streets, sis. Not ever. So here's the thing. It wasn't his first time, wasn't his second time, wasn't his third time. All of these instances involved a fucking child under 5 years old. This dude hated fucking children. I don't know how the motherfucker had any friends to be able to have, for anybody to be able to call and say, and this is to go show you the mindset of people. I refuse to believe that nobody in the neighborhood knew that this motherfucker should never be left alone with a child. You know why? Because there was enough dead babies in his trail for people to know he shouldn't be left with a child. You know why? When his own 1-month-old baby, when he was a suspect in his own 1-month-old baby's homicide, where the baby died of blunt force trauma in Alaska, a month old, her name was Nadia. But there was not enough evidence to charge him. Alaska alleges that they didn't have enough evidence to charge him. The irony is, after this, Alaska says, well, maybe now we'll reopen the case that we closed. Well, what fucking evidence are you going to have magically appear that wasn't there for you to hold the motherfucker in the first place? If you didn't have enough evidence, that could only mean one thing to me. That means that you had the fucking evidence to lock him the fuck up in the first place. There's no way, even the case, he was a suspect, but they didn't have enough evidence, and he's walked free for all of this time. Where's the evidence going to come from if you reopen the case? Unless you're going to plant it there. That would mean that you had sufficient evidence to lock the motherfucker up then. I've seen district attorneys go after motherfucker for shoplifting, for stealing fucking candy bars more aggressively than what this motherfucker was pursued. This is not just a failure of the criminal justice system. As the result of that, a 5-year-old children are dead. So it's not it's a mistake, we get a do-over. No. If that wasn't enough, who the fuck gave this motherfucker guardianship? How does he get guardianship of a goddamn 3-year-old in 2009? How does he have guardianship over a 3-year-old? You got the dead little girl in Alaska, 1-month-old baby. The next case was what? A 3-year-old being dipped in fucking scalding hot, a pot, not a tub. The child didn't crawl in the tub. The child didn't spill over a bucket. The child was put in a fucking pot from the waist down in scalding hot fucking water. What happens in that case? He gets acquitted. You know what he told the law? The baby pulled it on himself. There's no fucking way a 3-year-old will be able to pull if a pot is heavy enough to scald him from the waist down, there's no way he could have pulled that pot on himself. Where did he pull a pot on himself from? The only place a pot belongs, is on, that's my cat jumping around. The only place a cat belongs, the only place, she was walking across the desk. The only place a pot belongs is on the stove. So how did the child miss The child pulled the pot on himself, but it didn't get his head. It didn't get his head, didn't get his shoulders. It got from the waist down. You know what? This dude was some type of sadist. And he derived pleasure. Stop it, sunshine. He derived pleasure. I cannot play with you right now. Stop it. She derived pleasure out of torturing a little innocent baby. That's what that was about. It was done to not only to mutilate the genitals, but to torture them by means of the genitals. It was another case I covered in Chicago where a mother did that to her daughter, her little infant daughter. So it's some type of sickness that they get some gratification out of watching a child suffer. Can you imagine how a 3-year-old baby would have been screaming, being dipped in a pot of fucking scalding hot water? And this motherfucker was acquitted of that fucking crime. What happens again? See, the 1-month-old, his daughter Nadia in Alaska, that wasn't the only child that he was suspected of fucking killing. There was another 1-year-old child that was deceased in Alaska that he was the number one suspect of. My question is, when I've researched this case, where is the information on these other fucking cases? Where's the news articles? There is none. The only fucking reason why that shit has come to the light because he killed another little girl. There is not a fucking ounce of information about what this dude did to these other children. Nothing. And they would have been high profile cases because they were children. That should have made the local news. The children didn't die of natural causes. The medical examiner ruled in each case the manner of death was homicide. So how many people? It's so aggravating because it was totally fucking preventable. Right? So, y'all, we haven't gotten to the graphic part yet. It's graphic enough, right? Okay. They take him into custody. They arrest him. Well, basically, they recharged him. And when they recharged him, they charged him with abuse of a corpse. So the first thing that will come to mind is because of the way he handled her body after death. No, he was charged with abuse of a corpse because he filmed himself sexually violating this baby after she was deceased. That's where the child pornography charge comes from. Mods, type viewer discretion is advised in the chat, please. So when I say this is a sick motherfucker, this is a sick motherfucker. So you got necrophilia going on there too, because the baby is deceased. And he's filming himself sodomizing and sexually assaulting a 5-year-old fucking baby. Now, what happens is 13 days later, After his arrest, who else do you think they locked up? Out of the adults that had been around Kamarie for the last 72 hours, who else do you think they locked up? Her mother. Oh, but that's not before she put on this grand, this Academy Award winning performance with not a drop of tear coming out her friggin' eyes. Let me tell you something. I know for a goddamn certainty, ain't no 5-year-old. It doesn't matter how nice of a child it is that wants to give their toys away to another little kid. When I seen her giving the toys away, I knew right then and there, no mother would do that. No mother would give away her daughter's toys, her child's toys. Even if that would have made another child happy and they had just found her child dead 13 days before. And dying the way that this baby died. No way. And it just wasn't nothing in my gut said genuine remorse. It was I'm sorry, she was giving me fucking Susan Smith fucking tease. Susan Smith tease. Not a fucking tear. I was waiting for the tears to drop. You know the reason why the bitch eyes was welling up with tears? Because she was forcing her fucking self to cry. When you've ever seen a person grieving or a person cry, there's nothing that they can do to stop the tears from coming out their eyes. Tears be every place, snot be everywhere. I'm sick, and this is what I'm talking about, this culture that we live in, this overly sensitive culture. Now you got to make up, you can't judge a person by how they grieve. Yes, I can. The freedom of speech allows me to judge a motherfucker by the fact that no, you're not grieving. I.e. Casey Anthony, no, bitch, you're not grieving. You're not grieving out shaking your ass while that little beautiful baby is in the bushes with the animals eating off of her for a month while you out shaking your ass and getting tattoos. No, that's not grieving. But because we live in a sensitive, you can't say this or can't say that, or you're going to be canceled society, nobody wants to say that. Why didn't somebody say, no, bitch, you weren't shaking your ass? And probably having the best sex of your life. And your child was missing for a month after the nanny took the baby. But you got to be sensitive and say, you can't tell another person how to grieve. You see it all the time, especially when you talk about Black widows. When you talk about cases with Black widows, that's the first thing they say. You can't judge them because they ain't grieving. Yeah, I can. They ain't grieving at all. Darlie Roudier is another one. All of these conspiracy theories, that sick bitch stabbed Devin and Damon to death. I'm sorry. That has been the case. That has been my belief from the goddamn beginning. And I've watched every goddamn so-called conspiracy known to mankind since she was charged with those fucking crimes. That bitch killed her children. Point blank, period. No fucking mother alive would be spraying silly spray on the graves of their fucking children. Nobody. Those children died a very horrific, brutal death. Do I believe she did that to herself? Yes, the fuck I do. If she was sick enough to stab children that were not all that were under 10 years old, I think one of her children was 5. That's why that case popped into my mind. I'm not certain if it was Devin or if it was Damon, but they were, one of them was 5. Some of the wounds in those kids went so deep, the knife went into the fucking floor. So do I, a bitch that could do that to her children? Absolutely. She would cut her own throat to make it look like, didn't you hear them say it was all superficial wounds? Where is the intruder? There isn't one. The intruder is mommy. Where she fuck the thing, the fuck the here's the thing. But I'm gonna tell you something, they gonna kill her ass just like they killed Carla Faye Tucker. Uh-huh. See, she done fucked up. When you do that shit in Texas, you fucked up. Because you know what? Texas is going to kill your motherfucking ass. They may put it off a while, but Texas is going to kill you. If you do it in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, if you end up in the feds on death row, they're going to kill you. That's almost guaranteed. You ain't going to live. No, that's not going to happen. You can file to whatever, as many appeals as you want to file. They'll let you go through the process. But you watch and see, don't she be put to death? They don't care about the conspiracy. She wouldn't be the first one that did it. Carla Faye Tucker turned her whole life around. Doesn't mean they ain't kill her. And she killed the full grown ass man. That's what they refer to as the pickaxe murder. They didn't care about nothing. You changed your life over and you found the Lord, and bitch, you gonna meet him. So 13 days later, the mother is arrested. When the mother is arrested, the indictment reads, and the indictment is sealed because it's a gag order. The mother gets arrested with human trafficking, and they charge the mother with the same fucking thing that they charged Jeremy with. So I said that's odd to me that they would charge her with the only way that they would charge you with the same thing they charge your co-defendant with is if you were there at the time that the crime was committed, or if you were somehow conspired with your co-defendant in the commission of the crime. One of the things that they charged the mother with was sex trafficking of a minor. They charged her with murder in the act of rape. They charged her with sex. Hold on, let me get the charges. Let me read the let me find the go through where give me 1 second. And it's another case where I'm going to read some of my notes that I wrote some of my notes that I wrote from in reference to that. The mother's demeanor about this. When the mother gave, now this would have been after Jeremy was arrested, right? The mother gave Kamarie's toys away. She went to the news station and she gave the toys away. And what she had told what she had told the media as she gave away the toys was that she was being excluded from everything. But although she had not been charged with anything, in my opinion, if you're there for the purpose of donating your child's toys, why are you talking about you didn't have anything to do with the case and you haven't been charged? You haven't been charged with anything. You know what that tells me? The bitch had a guilty conscience. And she could tell by the way things were moving and the way people were acting that her ass was 9 times out of 10. She knew something was coming down the pike. She didn't go to her child's funeral because they didn't let her know about the balloon release. They didn't let her know anything about the funeral arrangements. She's on basically pleading to the news media that she didn't have anything to do with it. Nobody said you had anything to do with it. So why would that even enter your mind? Because she had something to do with it. And the reason why, the only way they could have charged her with the same thing that they charged him with is if that sick bitch was there at the time that he was filming himself engaging in necrophilia with her child. They have actual footage of him filming himself doing this to this little girl. She had to be there. That's the only way she would have been charged with the same thing that he was charged with. Now let's look at some of the news coverage. And again, the reason why I felt the way I felt about Kamarie's father is that you had to have some. First of all, you and her have a fucking baby that's under a year old. So y'all were still fucking when she was actively using drugs. Kamarie is 5 years old. So apparently you didn't have that much of an issue with her being unfit to raise your children. You were still going back to have sex with her. And like I said, I don't believe that this dude was her drug dealer. I believe that he used drugs and I believe that he was a fucking pimp. And that's the reason why they're not disclosing the nature of their relationship. But they went so far as to say the nature of their relationship is not romantic. Well, what the fuck is it? It can't be with so many things. It can't be with so many things. I believe he was a fucking pimp. And she was charged with selling. So that means that there was some money involved, her daughter, to Jeremy Williams for sex. She sold her daughter out as a sex slave. Now, you remember I talked about the woman that he sexually assaulted. And this is why I say he's on the lines of a psychopath. Because I believe this child was already dead at the time that he was sexually assaulting this woman, but he has such a perverted, sexually deviant sexual appetite, not even 24 hours after he murdered a 5-year-old and sodomized her. Here he is sodomizing another woman. So y'all heard about 3 cases. You heard about the 1-month-old in Alaska, his biological daughter. He was the suspect in the murder of another 1-year-old in Alaska. It was the case with the 3-year-old with the scalding hot water that he had guardianship of. Who the fuck would give him guardianship of a fucking kid? And the motherfucker was facing in fucking Georgia at the time of this crime. He was facing felonious, basically an aggravated assault against a child. So Kamarie really would have been his 5th known victims. His 5th known victim. But I can guarantee you those are not the only children that are his victims. And he didn't wake up one morning and decide that he was going to basically asphyxiate, because there was a ligature found around her neck. So he didn't wake up one morning and decide he was going to asphyxiate and sexually assault a 5-year-old. He's been doing this shit for quite some time. And getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Clearly, he hated children. So he never should have been around the children. But the reason why she was charged with the same thing is because, for one, she was there. Number 2, she took money from him in exchange for her daughter. The reason why I believe that she made that fucking police report, I believe he told her to make that police report. Do I believe she knew her daughter was dead? Absolutely. I believe she knew her daughter was dead at the time she made that fucking report. At the time that she called the police, she knew then her daughter was dead. But because of that altercation, not even 24 hours before, between Mr. Williams and the unknown woman, the adult victim that alleges that he was calling her by Kamarie's name as he was sexually assaulting her. As he's telling her that he taught, here's the thing, at the time that the woman said he told her he had taught a 5-year-old how to have sex, Kamarie had not even had an autopsy yet. They had not even found her body yet. So there was no way to know what had happened to her. How was she able to tell the law? How was she able to relay that information to law enforcement? How she was able to get away was that she basically led him to believe that they was going to go buy more drugs. And she got to a gas station. He had taken her cell phone. He didn't know she had another cell phone. And that is the cell phone that she used to call for help. Once he realized that she had kind of like gotten away from him at the gas station, he pretty much dipped out. But again, there's no way that woman would have known that anything involving sex with a 5-year-old ever took place. And for her to say that he was calling her by the little girl's name, how would she know what this little girl's name was? So I believe that at the time that the call on December the 13th at 3:00 in the morning, I believe the mother made the call to the police to cover their fucking trails. Because he didn't know whether or not the police was going to come and get him for sexually assaulting that woman that made the allegation. And maybe they could perceive police presence snooping around. And they knew that body was there. But she absolutely knew her daughter was dead at the damn time that she made that call. Make no mistake about it. The reason why she was able to give her daughter's toys away is because she didn't have any attachment to her. And just the things that she was saying, it just didn't make any fucking sense to me. And even before I knew of her involvement, let me let y'all see it. Let's go through it. Let's do it. And this is protected. Let me put my fair use sign up, fair use.
Toy to another little child in need because she was a very healthy child.
Oh, she looked like such a cute little girl.
She was a very sweet child. She was beautiful, sweet soul. And this is, I see this and I touch my heart, so I stopped. That's what she was, mommy. Let's help that, mommy. She's like that. She's like that. We were at the gas station one time and we seen a family out there, and one of the little girls had shoes on, and she said, "Mommy, we can help them, mommy, because I have so many pair of shoes at home, mommy. Let's give them my shoes, mommy." And Kamarie, Holland's mommy, and she wouldn't want nothing in the world but to donate her toys to another little child that was in need because she was a very healthy child.
Oh, she looked like such a cute little girl.
She was a very sweet child. She was beautiful, sweet soul. And this is, I see this and I touch my heart, so I stopped. That's what she was, mommy. Let's help that, mommy. She's like that. She's like that. We were at the gas station one time and we seen a family out there, and one of the little girls didn't have shoes on, and she said, "Mommy, we can help them, mommy, because I have so many pair of shoes at home, mommy. Let's give them my shoes, mommy." And of course, we gave them her shoes because she's that caring. She had a heart. She had a spirit that she's been here before, and she was a blessing. She is a blessing.
How are you coping?
I'm coping. I mean, the media is making me look like I'm some evil person, but I'm not. I'm a mommy, and I did not have nothing to do with this. She was my life. I lived for her daily. She was my only girl. I had 3 boys in her.
Oh, she was young.
She was no. I have one more under her. I have my son under her, and it's hard. It's hard. I don't know if I'm coming where I'm going, but I'm doing it for her.
Do you have any support? Do you have people on your side? Someone's helping you?
Ain't nobody on my side. They didn't even tell me about the balloon release today. They haven't even mentioned the or nothing.
So will you get to decide, or?
I don't think so. I think that's all Dad had custody of her.
Okay.
But you know what? I have my peace with her, and she's here in my heart. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely right. I can't even fathom what you might be going through, but please know that our hearts and prayers are with you. And I know just at the station, we cover all kinds of news, but for whatever reason, just because of what happened, it has really hit hard for a lot of people.
And that's all you see over social media is her face. She was so loved. She was so loved.
Now she lived in Phoenix City.
Yes, she lived with Dad in Phoenix City, and she was with me. That Sunday I picked her up and he prayed on her. I can't really talk about it. There's a gag order.
Okay, and we're not going to try to ask you to talk about that. Is her school doing anything?
I'm not sure. She was in school for like literally 3 weeks and then got kicked out because of coronavirus. Somebody tested positive in class. So we decided not to send her back. But she was so smart. She was just smart. You spell her name. She'd see a K somewhere. She's like, Mom, that's Kamari. She was the whatever.
I understand she wanted to. I read somewhere.
The princess. She wanted to be a princess. You can tell her nothing. On my makeup room, but she wanted to. She'd have it. She'd definitely be.
What would you want viewers to know about your daughter?
She was just the sweetest girl in the world. Oh God, you know her. She was just sweet. Like, you could not harm her. She's so innocent, so smart. She was fantastic. She was perfect.
Well, my heart aches for you. And please know our prayers are with you. I know Tony gave you her card.
Yes.
So,
I've dropped off some presents and I still have some more. I will bring because that's what she would want.
So that's
Definitely
very
what
sweet
she
of you.
would.
And is there anything that you want to say to our viewers about
Life's short. Definitely keep your loved ones close. You never know when it's going to be the end. And I'm innocent. I had nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance or murder. I would never. She was my life.
Of course she was. She's your baby girl.
Exactly. Whoever could do that is just disturbing. Very sick in the head.
Yesterday afternoon at around 1 o'clock in Columbus, we were able to arrest Christy Sipple, who is also known as Christy Hoskins. She has been charged with murder during the course of kidnapping and human trafficking. She was sent to the court this morning at 9 o'clock. She saw Judge Gray, and he set no bonds on all of her charges. So she will be held at this time in the Russell County Jail under no bond on those 4 charges.
So she actually called 911 on Monday morning herself. She said that she woke up to find that it was gone and her front door was open, insinuating
So, the thing about it, Christy, is the person, the sick in the head motherfucker that could do this to your baby was the motherfucker that you gave your baby over to. That you knew that you wasn't in a romantic relationship with, but that you knew that's who did that to your baby. And apparently do you see how, the reason why the bitch was lost for words? Because she had no fucking connection to the child. So she's being put on the spot again. Bitch, if you're being asked, is there anything that you want the public to know about your baby, not about you? Do y'all realize this bitch had not been charged? She alleges it was the media making her look bad. Where was the media reports? I did not see any media reports making this bitch look bad. All of the attention was on Mr. Williams. It's not about you, bitch. It was not about her, and she made it about her. What mother says that, listen, I wouldn't give a goddamn? What mother is not going, if she got to fight the father's family tooth and nail. If she got to go to that funeral under armed guard, what mother is going to accept, well, I have her here in my heart? No, listen. And this, because this is a baby's case, I'm not going to take it there. But I know we don't want more than one casket. We don't want to lose more than one loved one in a week. Somebody is going to tell me something. What mother is going to say, well, I have my child here in my heart. That's all that matters. The broad was disconnected from her baby. And the fact of the fucking matter is, she had no fucking business with the child. None. And like I said, her and the father had this little arrangement where, despite the court's discretion that she should not be alone with her child, that all of her visits should be supervised. It wasn't split custody. They didn't have joint custody. She wasn't allowed to come and get the kids and take them on weekends. She was supposed to have supervised visitation. And the father was 100% aware of that. Why did he allow the child to go with her? Because that's the type of arrangement that they had. And I guess if she showed up and she ain't look high, when he asked, well, why didn't you, how come, how did she end up with the mother? Well, I didn't want to disappoint the daughter. No, the fact of the matter is, you was still fucking the mother when she was in her addiction. That's how you get the little baby under 1 year old. Another gorgeous little baby. Yeah. So here's the thing. When you think about how sick this broad is, this may not have been the first time that this something like this happened to this baby. Because I can bet you that wasn't the first time the father let the kids go with the mother unattended. That wasn't the first time. That was more like on the, okay, we getting along. As long as we getting along, here's the thing. You going to let your daughter go to another, mind y'all, they did not live in the same state. Yes, I get that it's just across the border, just across the Chattahoochee River, but do y'all realize the father lived in Phoenix, Alabama? The father did not live in Columbus, Georgia. The mother lived in Columbus, Georgia. So you're crossing state lines. You didn't know what was going on at the house. Apparently, the type of it was a whole lot of shit going on. She didn't even have beds for the kids. They were sleeping in the bed with her. And if she was entertaining the likes of people like fucking Jeremy Williams, it was a whole lot of shit going on in the mama's house. So, of course, anytime you ask the question, oh, well, it's a gag order, that's victim shame. No, it ain't victim shaming to ask a motherfucking question. Why the fuck did you let the baby go with her? That's victim shaming? No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the same goddamn type of question that a damn defense attorney is going to ask when she get her ass up there on the stand. When he get his ass up there on the stand. To deflect away from the fact that their client is the one that actually committed the crime. No fucking mother is going to give their babies. Do y'all realize The baby was reported on the 13th, December the 13th of 2021. Between December the 13th and the 14th, the baby's body was found. And they knew that she had been murdered. And not even a good week later, here the mother is giving away the toys. The baby would want, most mothers would know you can't have anything. As a matter of fact, don't touch my child's stuff. I still have my kids, some of my older kids in their 30s, I still have stuff from listen, no mother would do that. I still have stuff from over 30 years ago. My aunt still has ultrasound pictures of my kids. And they in their 30s. They little pictures, they little drawings and stuff like that. The little hats that they wear when they come home from the hospital, little footies, that type of stuff. Most mothers hold on to that stuff. No mother of a murdered child is going to say, here, other little kids can have her toys because that's what she would want. What 5-year-old you know wants to share their toys with another little kid? Even if it's a kind child, they may share the toy with you, but they're not going to give you their damn toys. That shows a fucking disconnection from the baby. And that's the reason why she can't think of anything. The word she's using to describe her daughter, she was a healthy child. What the fuck did that got to do with, what did that got to do with anything that they asking you? She's healthy. She was a healthy child. She's not healthy anymore. She's dead. Even if you give her a pass for that, okay, maybe she's stumbling around. Maybe she's nervous. This whole, I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I don't buy that whole take, mommy, we can, she's seen a child without any shoes on. She took her shoes off and gave it to the family, and you stupid bitch, you let her take her shoes off. So you let your child walk around without the shoes on while you gave the shoes to other children that were in need. If she had so many damn pair of shoes, if this is what a 5-year-old, and I'm not saying because you have, y'all know, you have little babies that's like little baby geniuses. I'm not saying that the baby wasn't able to articulate that. I'm saying if the baby has so many pairs of shoes, what are you going to do if you see a little baby without any shoes? Listen, I got all these shoes. If you come to my house or are you going to be here, I can go to my house and come back and give you a pair of shoes for your child. You're not going to let your kid take their shoes off and give them to somebody else. That whole cockamamie story was a fucking lie. And I agree with Tat 100%. It's bitches like this that make it difficult for you to believe actual victims. Because you don't know whether they involved with it or not. Because clearly, she was very much involved. They charged her. She was so involved. They charged her with everything that they did, everything that they charged him with the exception of having sex with abuse of a corpse. That's the only thing. And that's because he was the one actually engaging in the sex act and the sodomy with the child. That means that they have some evidence that she was there and she was an active participant in it, or either she set the stage for it. And then she gets her ass on there. Now that we know where her involvement was, she gets her ass on national news. It will never, It will always be mind-boggling to me why they even attempt to do the shit. And I'm gonna tell you another damn reason why she was able to she thought she had got away with it. That was a part of her, that nervous laughter. You remember that? Did you hear the reporter say, "Let me hold your keys"? See, that's what that was about. That nervousness, that anxiety. That's what that was about. And the reason why she could be so coy is because she thought she got away with it. Because he was the only one that was in jail. And 13 days had passed. Give me 1 second. Let me go through this. Let me open up my other playlist. Or go through. I'm sorry. Let me open up my playlist of the news articles. Well, not news articles, of the other actual news coverage. Give me 1 second.
A Russell County woman arrested in the murder of her 5-year-old daughter. In Russell County, woman arrested in the murder of her 5-year-old daughter. Christy Sipple is facing 4 felony charges, including murder and human trafficking, in connection to the death of Kamarie Holland. The little girl was abducted 2 weeks ago in Georgia. Officials say they found her body in an abandoned home that was previously owned by Jeremy Williams. Authorities say they found evidence of sexual abuse.
Please, parents, take care of your kids. Watch your kids. Be careful who your kids are around. Shouldn't have to state that, but it never hurts to remind everybody this is a bad world.
Williams is expected to face additional charges, including kidnapping, rape, and child pornography. He and Sipple are being held without bond in the Russell County Jail.
Exactly where both of they funky asses belong for the rest of their natural lives. Exactly where they belong at. Exactly where they belong.
Evil has entered our community.
Okay, and the other thing, I'm sorry, I meant to tell y'all that the funeral is actually, I'm not going to show it here. I'm not going to go through it here, but the funeral is actually online. So the whole service is they did make it public. I'm trying to find the bit. Okay, let's do that. Let's go through. This is the right one, y'all. I apologize. Hold on.
And yesterday afternoon at around 1 o'clock,
I think they may actually be blocking the audio for some reason. For some reason StreamYards is blocking the audio because the banner popped up that said that it basically had muted the audio. So sometimes it does that when you playing copyrighted content, it'll do it automatically. But as you can see, the mother was charged with everything that he was charged. The fact that she was charged with murder, of rape during the course of murder, that means that she was there at the time that the murder was committed. She's charged with just about everything. It's only 2 charges that don't match his, and that's the production of pornography, because he was the one actually doing the filming, and the abuse of a corpse, because he's the one that's seen filming himself having intercourse with it's not, and that's not intercourse, sexually assaulting the child after she's deceased. Now, as a result of this, the other child, and y'all may disagree, and that's fine. The other child, her little brother, CPS removed him from the father's care. And I believe that that was absolutely the right decision to make, because if he had custody of the child and he allowed the child to go, he basically violated the court order. He wasn't even abiding by the order of the court, which was that she was not supposed to have contact with the children without it being supervised. At the time of Kamarie's murder, her mother was actually fighting. She was facing charges because they found drugs in her system at the time that she gave birth to Kamarie's little brother. So him having custody of the kids and knowing, there's no way he can tell me he had some fucking idea what was going on at her house. He had some idea that his baby mama was a prostitute, or that she was actively using drugs. I don't care what he says. He knew something about it, or he heard something about it. Listen, you see it a lot of times. You'll see the grandmothers and the aunties all come out and they want to vilify the other person. Well, where the fuck were you at when your brother was allowing the child to go with the mother, when you know the mother had a drug problem? Y'all didn't have nothing to say about the brother having another child with her when she was unfit to take care of the first one. She didn't take care of the first one. She didn't have custody of her other 3 kids. Ultimately, yes, we know Jeremy Williams and Christy Sipple are the ones that are responsible for the crime. But how does the crime take place? How does the crime come to be? The child had no business with the mother. I believe the mother went there for that fucking purpose. And that's the reason why I believe this dude is her fucking pimp. There's a reason why they keep saying, notice every single bit of footage that involves law enforcement talking about this case. You have multiple jurisdictions, multiple states saying the same thing, both out of Alabama and Georgia, saying, watch your kids. Protect your kids. You know what that's telling you? When you hear that again and again and again and again, this is something that they were doing. If they weren't sex trafficking children, they were sex trafficking adults as well. There was something like that in their history. Or they found out certain things that had to do with sex trafficking. Otherwise, how do they make the connection of sex trafficking? If the child is found deceased in a house in Alabama, how was the mother charged with sex trafficking in Georgia? And they may be facing additional charges because the rest of the details have yet to come out in the case. We haven't seen any of the forensic evidence. You don't know whether the child was killed in Georgia and then taken to Phoenix, Alabama. And you don't know whether the child was murdered in the house where the child was actually found at. So there's a lot of things that have to come out about the case. But the reason why they connected them with sex trafficking is because there was something in the evidence that they were able to gather to solidify the case against them that said that. And that's the reason why every time they came on, the black sheriff that you seen standing behind him, behind the district attorney, she got up there and said the same thing. Watch your children, know where your children are. Why would they be saying that if you have an instance of a mother who sold? It's not that she didn't do that, but she sold her child to him allegedly for money to buy drugs with. If this is an isolated case, why would they have to remind other parents to watch your child? Watch you to monitor who your child is around. Because it may not be the first time that they did it. I know for a damn certainty that dude got more victims in his wake. We already counted 4 before he even got to Kamarie. The fact of the matter is he never should have got. So I said what I said about the father. And I mean every word of it. He was the adult in the situation. It was his. Like I said, if she was upset because she couldn't go with her mom, she would have gotten over it. She would have cried, stomped her feet, had a temper tantrum, or threw toys. She would have got over it. If you didn't want to disappoint the 5-year-old, did the baby that was under a year old, was he going to know? How was he going to be disappointed that he couldn't go with his mom too? So why did you then say this was what the father said, if you're going to take Kamarie, you have to take the youngest one too. So he wanted a break from the kids. So I said what I said about that, but I also think you have a failure of the criminal justice system in terms of this. There's not that much of a coincidence. I think people think when it comes to law enforcement agencies, I think people think that they automatically communicate with each other. They miss things. How do you think serial killers go on killing and they realize years and years later, after the person went on to kill 50 more people, that there was a connection or that certain cases were connected? Because things are slipping through the cracks. You're not talking about robots. You're talking about human beings, imperfect human beings that can make a mistake. So do I believe that I believe the appropriate thing to do was to remove the son, because clearly you have some issues with judgment. So how do they guarantee that the younger baby is going to be protected? And then on the obituary, it lists that she had 7 other siblings. So we know that she had 3 other children. So that's 4, her 3 other children and Kamarie. And I suppose that the other children were his. What were the father's? But I think a lot of times in cases, you have to be careful because you don't want to come off as a victim shaming. But here's the whole thing. I'm not victim shaming. You know why? Because Corey Holland is not a victim. Kamarie Holland is. So for anybody that believes it's victim shaming, Corey Holland is not a victim. His daughter is. Point blank, period. Christy Sipple as a mother is not a victim. Her daughter is. Corey Holland's grandmother, his mama, his aunties, they're not victims. Kamarie Holland is. So no, it's not victim shaming, because I'm not shaming Kamarie about what happened to her or blaming her for her own death. There were adults that were around her that were responsible. She, at 5 years old, she can't protect herself. So the only people that she can rely on to protect her are her mother and her father. They're supposed to protect you from predators. But how much can you be protected when one of your parents is a predator? And I don't believe that this chick just woke up one morning and just had all of these sick, deviant tendencies. There was some fucking huge red flags there that motherfuckers were either overlooking, just like they did with Jeremy. How was he able to associate with anybody and he got 4 injured children in his wake? Some of them are deceased. How does anybody even have conversation for him? But nevertheless, here he is. While at the time of this case, he was actually fighting, when he got charged with these crimes, he was actually fighting another case in Georgia for child abuse. So clearly, he's walking around the community like everything is everything. Like nobody don't know what this motherfucker's history is. I keep going back to the Green case because there were people that knew that Gregory Green had murdered his first wife. It was the same fucking community. He was a parishioner of the Father's church. He was a parishioner of the Father's church. So there were people that knew what that dude's history was. And no, you can't stop 2 grown-ass adults. I'm speaking specifically to the fact that nobody, and I watched very carefully the mother when she was interviewed years later. And she had started a fund for her. She had started a fund in her children's names to help other families when they go through the loss of a child. Ma'am, that's admirable. But what was going through your mind when you decided to marry a man that had murdered his first wife when she was pregnant with his child? This is women believing that they can change somebody. You believe that your love, you can love him so much, he's no longer going to be a killer. And he stabbed the woman with a baby inside of her that was his child. It's unfreaking believable. And as a result of that, he leaves you alive. He left you alive for a reason. He left you alive, but he shot your children in the head. He executed your oldest son and your daughter right in front of you. He shot you in the foot and cut your face, so he left you permanently scarred. He executed your 2 teenage children in front of your face and then went upstairs and the 2 children that you had with him. He had basically rigged up going out to, and this is how premeditated it was with this dude. He had gone out to the Lowe's and purchased equipment to rig the car to put the 2 little babies in. They weren't little, but it was about maybe like 5 and 6, or like maybe like 5 and 7 or 6 and 7, somewhere around the age. They weren't that old. He rigged the car in the garage and basically killed the kids with carbon monoxide from the vehicle, and then took them and laid them upstairs and laid them in their beds. But her children from a previous marriage, he executed right in front of her. That's because he wanted her to live. He wanted her to live with that. Because if he wanted to kill her, he could have killed her. He didn't try to kill her. No. He wanted her alive. There's no way he would have shot her kids in the head and then left her alive. If he wanted her dead, she would have been dead. He left her alive for a purpose. He murdered the children to get back at her. And y'all remember when I was covering that case, I watched him intently go through, when he was giving his testimony, and I could tell he became tearful when it was about his own biological children. But you could see his countenance change when he had to walk through, as a result of his guilty plea, when he had to walk through what he did to her oldest 2 children, and you could see he had some disdain for the children. Just like when he got to what he did to her, he had disdain. If he could have killed her in that courtroom, he would have did it. And I'm talking about Faith Green. And she gets up there and she reads from, yes, it's sympathetic. Of course it's sympathetic. People are going to be sympathetic to a mother that lost 4 of her children. But when you decide to come out and you're not talking about what happened, because of course nobody's going to ask you, why the fuck did you marry a fucking murderer and bring them around your children? Nobody's going to say that. Because of course she's a grieving mother. I'm not saying she wasn't a grieving mother. But as far as I'm fucking concerned, she survived. Her children are in the ground. She lived. As a result of her decision, yes, she may have the trauma of what she witnessed, but her children are not here anymore, period. And her father, the pastor, was the one who wrote the fucking letter. But again, nobody can ask the pastor any questions. Anytime the media reach out to him, he's not available for comment. I bet the fuck he not. When he wrote the fucking letter to the parole board to get the motherfucker out of jail. I bet he not. You know the reason why the parole board denied him every time he went up? Because he showed no remorse. And like I told you, he showed no fucking remorse because he didn't have any. He was not sorry about what the fuck he did. And although I know people may believe, well, a person has got, no, a lot of times motherfuckers are not sorry when they kill people. You got to stop projecting your empathy and your compassion onto other people. Because everybody does not operate that way. And it doesn't matter who it is. Whenever it comes to something like that, I look at the goddamn facts and the evidence. And here's the thing. It's another case of a little girl. I believe it's in, and this is how it popped up in the feed. In the process of looking for the news snippets for this case, a little girl by the name of Hawaii Robinson, if I'm not mistaken, 8 years old. That story I'm gonna put off for a while because that shit literally made me livid. That really made me livid. Because that's the instance of where a father basically kidnapped and murdered his own child and sexually assaulted his own child. And when he was given when you're given the opportunity after you're convicted to give a statement, he said, you took me away from, my friends and my family and my fishing trips. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? It was surreal. Your daughter is dead and you're thinking about fucking fishing trips. Is that all that, again, these people, they're not connected. They're disconnected. You have to be, in order for him to do what he was convicted of doing, you have to be disconnected from your child to do that. And what gets me is you have this mama, not my son, bitch, your son is a fucking murderer. You know the reason why a lot of times Black mothers say, no, not my child didn't do it, because if she say my son ain't do it, my kid ain't do it, you know what that means? She not the mother of a motherfucking monster. She not the mother of a murderer. Bitch, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yeah, you're the mother of a goddamn murderer. It ain't about you, bitch. It's not about your image or what's people gonna say about you. The community is going to know your son or your daughter's a little murderer. And as long as you separate yourself and say he innocent, he a victim of the goddamn system, right? Then that means you ain't the mother of a murderer. Yeah, hell yeah, you is. Hell yeah, you is. Listen, but you can't, Brandy, you can't say that. Why not? Why not? So here you have the evidence there, and you got his mama. My son did not do that, bitch. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. She ain't saying, listen, that's my son, and I'm going to love my child no matter what, but I have to disown him because of what he did or what he was involved in or whatever the case may be. Listen, certain shit, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. Do you need this? This is absolutely. Because if you did it to if you did it to your own daughter, do you think a motherfucker that would rape and murder their own daughter would not kill a fucking mother? Are you kidding me? This is the reason why a lot of black mothers are the reason why I don't give if your son is crazy, if your son or your daughter is crazy, you know they crazy. If they belong on fucking medication, put them on fucking medication or put them in the fucking nut house. Don't nobody on your job want to get shot up because your crazy ass son come up there to kill you and kill other people. You got a case here in Philadelphia like that where the whole family, and this is how you know how seriously ill this person was, this boy was. He was a young man, I believe in his 20s. But this is how seriously ill you know he was. He was not fit to stand trial. They find even crazy motherfuckers fit to stand trial. The courts found he was not fit to stand trial. He killed his mother, the stepfather, and his 2 siblings right here in this fucking city this year. If it wasn't this year, it was the latter part of last year. And you mean to tell me they didn't have any clue that he was fucking crazy? If he don't want to get help, he got to go. Sorry. You see some sign that these motherfuckers had a propensity to do what the fuck they do. He ain't just wake up one morning and decide to go on a rampage and kill everybody in the house. It was some red flags there that you rationalize and I don't give a goddamn. I'm not going to be murdered by my own child. And if you acting like you crazy and you hallucinating and this, that, and all the other, and you try to get them help and they don't want to get help, you got to go. Either you got to go or I got to go. It's real simple. It's real simple. That coddling is getting you killed. That belief that you can conform a motherfucker is getting you killed. Trust and believe me, there's just some motherfuckers that cannot be rehabilitated. And yes, they need to be off of the streets because they fucking dangerous. Like I said, if you live in the fucking hood, trust and believe me, you have more than one serial killer in your neighborhood. I don't care how safe you think your neighborhood is. Your children shouldn't be wandering around in your neighborhood. When it comes to your children, there are no exceptions to the rules. When you go through the conversation that you have with your children about molestation, it doesn't matter who it is. Your older brother, your cousin, your aunt, my mama, my daddy, my granddaddy, my uncle, doesn't matter who it is. Nobody's exempt. Because what happens is when you make exemptions, it goes under the radar. Stop thinking you can look at a motherfucker and tell what the fuck. Have you looked at the mug shots of the motherfuckers and some of the crimes that they charge with? You think you can look at a motherfucker and tell that they would do that to a little baby? No, you can't. I don't care if that's your cousin that you grew up with and y'all knew each other when y'all was kids and all of this shit like that. What they got to do with what do they have to do with the evidence? No, it's not what the police are telling you. It's not what the media is telling you. It's not what other people are telling you. What the fuck do the facts and the evidence tell you? When it comes to whether or not I'm going to believe this person over, I'm going to believe the facts and the fucking evidence more than I believe that fucking person. The problem is you got people believing people instead of the fucking facts and the evidence. Right, baby doll, because some just have mental illness. Schizophrenia is a very, very serious mental illness. And the problem with people that have schizophrenia is they don't like to take their medicine because they're suspicious of other people. But they do hallucinate, and they have really, really bad hallucinations. We're like everything, just like we see each other right now and hear each other right now. People that have schizophrenia, they see people as vividly as you can hear me talking right now. So that's a very serious illness. And they don't want to get, sometimes they don't want to get treatment. I had a girlfriend that had a twin sister that had schizophrenia. And a sister would be downtown begging and stuff like that, asking for change and stuff, sleeping on the ground and everything. She wouldn't go get help because she didn't trust anybody to put her on the medicine. She wouldn't take the medicine. And sometimes they'll go off their medicine without telling anybody. People that have schizophrenia, within 5 years of their diagnosis, there's certain parts of their brain that just do not work the same. Do the research on it. It damages certain parts of their brain. Yes, Lace, his infant child in Alaska was a month old when she died of blunt force trauma to the head. In 2000, and he was also suspected. He was a suspect in the death of his own daughter, in his daughter's death. He was a suspect in the death of another 1-year-old in Alaska. So you have 2 deceased children in Alaska. Then you have him submerging the 3-year-old baby's genitals from the waist down into the hot pot of water. He was acquitted of that. And then he's facing additional charges not additional charges. He has another case that was pending in Georgia at the time that he committed this offense, right? For child abuse, felonious child abuse. Yeah, for felonious. I'm sorry, I was trying to block that account. For felonious child abuse. So this guy definitely had a history. And I just refuse to believe that nobody was aware of what this dude's history was. He was just, if he had pending charges or was basically facing charges on the books at the time of this crime, some fucking body around him knew what the fuck he was in there, what the fuck he was on, what he was dealing with. Me, myself, I do not believe our words. I don't believe rapists can be rehabilitated. I don't believe sexual predators, sexual deviants can be rehabilitated. I think they will always have that urge to fight that sexual deviancy throughout their lifetime. Clearly, you have a dude that is sexually assaulting one woman 24 hours after, not even 24 hours after he just did it to a 5-year-old baby. So no, they don't have, I don't think they can't be rehabilitated. That's a deviance for a grown-ass adult to be attracted to children. And the fact of the matter is, in this instance, it was a female. You don't know whether or not you don't know whether or not whether he was doing it to male children, whether he was doing it to male children. He could have been doing it to both. This dude shouldn't have been around nobody's kid. Mm-hmm. You saying don't put the Wi-Fi towers in any bedrooms. You said I've read some very concerning cases, and the one particular thing, the only thing they conclude was Wi-Fi in the room. And yes, they have it to where now, whether it's kids sign, because a lot of these predators are basically, and the other thing is, don't allow the fact that I think a lot of people are getting disarmed because of the gender, because they know that they're going to be suspected of doing certain things. I've seen that a couple of cases of where that happened, when people meet through a dating site and something happens to the female. That's because they don't know the male is involved. So they would meet up with a female, thinking that they're meeting up with a female, and the whole time it's a setup for the male predator. You might be thinking you're going to hang out with another female, and especially teenage girls. And the next thing you know, y'all never watched those stories of women that were sold as sex slaves, when they tell how they ended up getting having that happen to them. They were tricked. In some instances, they were tricked. Sometimes a guy will come under the guise of them being in a relationship, but a lot of times it's a female that lures them in. Stop being disarmed by the fact that they females. They just as dangerous as they male counterparts. They don't have any empathy, sympathy, or compassion for your pain and suffering. If they did, there's no way they could sit and watch another woman be beat up, addicted to drugs, and forced into sex slavery. Clearly, they don't have empathy. So no, they're not going to be sympathetic. They're not going to be sympathetic. So don't let, just be, when you talk to your children, you talk to your daughters, you talk to your children, make sure you make them aware of that and be honest with them. This is not the age of lying to children. And whether people get it or not, it's a lot more complicated than just the birds and the bees. You can't have a birds and the bees conversation with your children anymore, because we don't live in a birds and bees society. You may have grown up in a society of the birds and bees, barely, but that's just not what it is anymore. You have to be honest, because they have to know, what to look out for. And don't be afraid of making them mad, or don't be afraid of them getting angry with you. If they get angry, they'll get over it. They will get over it. If they have that point where they go through that rebellious phase, hopefully they'll grow right on out of it. But that doesn't mean that they get to have their way because they have a temper tantrum or because they're going to get angry. Right. Holding on them, influencer. They're just as sick as the dudes. I think in some ways they may get some kind of gratification out of watching. They may get some kind of gratification out of watching other women or other children be hurt and violated in that way. And in some instances, a lot of these broads are so sick they actually join in. Queenstone, I know you've seen cases of where the females join in on the sexual brutality of other females and little girls. They join in on it, so they get some type of gratification out of it too. You got a lot of very sick, twisted, perverted, deviant motherfuckers out here. And Christy Sipple is just a perfect example. She could be the poster child for sick, twisted bitches. And so Jeremy Williams has been charged with capital murder, as he should be, because if you don't give the death penalty in a case like this, when the fuck do you do? When do you give it? If this is not a death penalty appropriate case, he deserves to die for what he did. That's it. That's the fuck all. That's all. All right, y'all. Yeah, Brandy. That was Shenosha Richards. And that's the reason why I will remember that case. It's like etched in my mind, because that was one of the most brutal cases. That's almost aligned with this. I think the Shenosha Richards case was worse because, again, you have, although they're both heinous crimes, in this instance, you have another trusted female. Although it wasn't the parent, it was somebody that the child trusted that joined in on the assault of the little girl. So she was assaulted by two individuals. Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that hoeing on him, influencer. Mm-hmm. All right, ladies and gents, thank y'all for hanging out with me. I'm not certain what the next case is going to be. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the Deanna Cook case, and that's a case where you have a Black woman that basically had repeatedly gone to law enforcement and asked for help, and her murder was captured on tape. The moment that she died was captured on tape, and that trial is on that can be that we won't be able to do that in one live stream. We have to stretch that out in over multiple streams, because that's a long and that's a horrible case. That's a horrible case of domestic violence, and where you have her complaints were just not taken seriously. They just did not receive this dude as the threat that he was. That's another thing about the Faith Green and Gregory Green case. One of the things that I found so annoying was she did not tell the courts that this man had murdered his first wife when she went in there. If she had told them that when she went to obtain that restraining order, that's not to say a motherfucker that crazy wouldn't have did what he did anyway, because he very well may have. But the way she described what he was doing, kicking the couch with her on it, did you tell him that he was kicking the couch with you and the baby on it, and that he had murdered his first wife? That he stabbed his first wife 16 times when she was 5 months pregnant? I don't think you told him that. Because if you told them that, they would have gave you a restraining order. So it was something about that broad that just irked my nerves. I'm sorry, she just irked me. And she was not a person that I could sympathize with her losing her 4 children. But in my opinion, they were the victims. She lived to tell the story and still didn't tell the story. She didn't even pay it forward in that you're warning other victims about what signs to look out for or how that came to happen. And nobody is questioning her decision or her or her father. They saying that he might have felt guilt. Well, I'm sorry, but her father should have felt guilt. You're writing letters for this dude to get out. You believe he changed? Clearly, he did not change. How did he manage to convince her father that he changed, but he didn't convince the parole board that he changed? Child, I can't. All right, y'all. I will catch up with you all a little bit later. Not certain what the next case is that I want to do, but I will catch up to you all again. Thank you everybody that sent me, that loved on me for my birthday. That I appreciate the cash apps. I appreciate the live birthday card that the moderators and everybody got together to do on Poetic Kel's channel. I appreciate that so much. Okay, I appreciate all that you do for my channel, for me. Okay, I appreciate y'all, and I will catch up with y'all the next live. Peace, everybody.